Hi everyone, welcome to episode number 3 of Tool House Rock. And this is a set of calls powered by the ecosystem cluster in order to try to make sense of all the tools out there, be governance or anything Web3 related. And the idea of this initiative is to help the different clusters and the different scopes to actually see what's available and to kind of like a first scan of these tools. So that's what we're going to be trying to do today. Before we start, some basic disclaimers. Our views are our own. Things do change a lot very, very quickly. So there are a lot of possible inaccuracies. And again, this is just an attempt to be as educational as possible. Nothing is financial advice or legal advice. As Retro said in Denver, potentially this is mental health advice, but don't even take that. But yeah, today I'm very happy to welcome Common Ground, which they will tell us what they're about. I've seen a couple of screenshots in the past, and I'm quite excited about their being, mainly because of my growing hate to Discord. But that's on the personal level. I'm sure we'll get to that. And before we actually hand it to them, these are the frameworks that we believe that might be the most useful or where Common Ground could have more of an impact. So of course, ecosystem, to make sure that that the whole community grows, and then potentially growth if there's any type of initiative or even interface to see if that kind of like is enabled with other things. And in terms of improving categories, again, community building, a bit for growth, collaboration as well. We will be able to see these gated channels, which I'm also quite bullish about. In terms of education, you could kind of like unlock different things, user experience, and of course governance. So yeah, with that in mind, I'll hand it to Florian and Jan. Guys, thanks for joining us. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. Very happy to be here. Hi, I'm Florian, and I'm here with Jan. We're the two founders of the Common Ground project. And as it was hinted to by Juan, this is sort of a Web3 native Discord. And Jan and me, we founded it in 2021 in the summer, and have been building the platform ever since. It's a big undertaking to tackle something like Discord. It's a massive infrastructure. And so it keeps us busy day and night, really. But it's just beyond exciting. On my personal background, I'm a lawyer. I've been with the crypto space, in particular the Ethereum space, since early days, since around 2014. So I've seen the evolution of the space. And in 21, when we decided to found Common Ground, I just realized that this is what is needed now: tools for collaboration, tools for communities to build, to grow, to educate, and make this all really accessible to more people than just this, hardcore circle of people that are very technology driven. I think for the future where we're headed, we need to make governance and just, conversations in this crypto ecosystem much more accessible. And this is our goal. Jan, who's the technical co-founder, the CTO, I'll just give you, Jan, a minute also to introduce yourself, and then I will walk you through a quick presentation.
Thank you, Florian. Hi, I'm Jan. I'm the CTO and the technical side of us two founders, so to speak. I have a lot of experience as a full stack developer. Have been working for several companies for many years as a freelancer. Also, I'm kind of a maker, not MakerDAO, but a bit of 3D printing and 3D modeling and stuff like that. So I'm kind of broad in my interests. Have a lot of fun building complex web technology. The harder to build, the better. I'm really happy to be here. Nice to meet you guys. Thank you for having us, and I'll give it back to Florian.
Awesome. I'll be sharing my screen, walk you through a quick presentation, and then I'll give a demo of the application, and then we will be fielding questions. All right. So you should see my screen. Perfect. Okay.
Yes.
So welcome to the Toolhouse Rock episode 3, which is about Common Ground. And you'll be seeing some teasers and screenshots throughout the presentation, but I'll give you a proper demo in a moment. So Common Ground is a social chat app for communities. That's what connects us also to Discord, because this is the role that Discord fulfills today for both Web 2 and Web 3 communities. And we are convinced that Web 3 communities need their own dedicated collaboration and conversation app. And when you take this seriously, you will actually realize that this is far, far different from what Discord offers today, because in Web3, you have things like governance and other sorts of interactions that are just not part of the Web2 experience at all. Our mission, therefore, is to provide a unified and Web3 native collaboration platform for DAOs to build, to govern, and ultimately to grow. The problem today really is captured quite well in this DAO term. DAOs today want to be decentralized, they want to be autonomous, but they also want to be some sort of organization, but a new kind of organization. And with the tooling available today, it's really a massive trade-off. Every Web2 interaction is a point of centralization, which is a point for surveillance and a point to capture the people that are engaged in making these DAOs work. And this is a fundamental problem that we want to get rid of. At the moment, we really focus on a specific perspective of this trade-off, which is Web 2 versus Web 3 collaboration. If you plot the tools available today on an economics 101 graph, that is, silo versus social on the horizontal axis and casual versus collaborative or productive on the vertical axis, you get something like this, where you will see that, traditional tools used by traditional companies, such as Slack and Microsoft Teams, are completely siloed, but give you a lot of tools for collaboration. Other tools like Discord and Telegram, which crypto has adopted for themselves, are not at all collaborative or productive. It's really hard to get any work done in these tools. They are very much focused just on social interactions, on posting GIFs, and all these kinds of things. And so Common Ground wants to be in this top right corner, where there is a tool that is furthering collaboration and enables the productive interaction between people in DAOs and communities that want to that have a purpose and want to do something, but at the same time be extremely social, such that the community and the teams that are working on these topics can actually easily interact. They can cross-pollinate, cross-collaborate across communities and across things like meta DAOs. So if you have if you look at the future of DAOs, it will be comprised of many sub DAOs, and this is really a challenge, or actually impossible in today's tooling. And this is where Common Ground believes there is a unique spot to fill, and that's where we want to live. In one short sentence, we believe that modern organizations, not just DAOs really, but any kind of modern organization, wants to be fundamentally community-driven, and today's software as a service market does not cater to this new paradigm. You're either a company, so you live in a silo, or you're a community and you live in basically a chat app that does not assume that you want to be productive. It's either or. There is nothing that brings these two things together. So that's the problem space we're looking at. The solution that we're developing, Common Ground, can be captured or defined as a universal application where DAOs and communities can unify their communication and interactions, where they can vote on governance decisions, polls, and other collaborative decision-making processes, and where they can grow because it's a very accessible tool. It's easy to bring people in. It doesn't matter if they understand what Web3 even is. It doesn't require any advanced technological knowledge. We even consider Discord to be too hard to use by most mainstream users. So we want to be much more accessible than even something like Discord. Today, and you will see this in a demo in a moment, you can use Common Ground to discover communities through browsing through the communities or discovering the content that they are publishing on the platform or on other social media platforms. You can onboard into these communities with ease in seconds, and then you can access community areas. And these community areas can be fully open, but they can also be token gated. So you need to acquire tokens to do this, or they can even be human gated. So you need to prove that you're a real human to enter these spaces and interact with others. Here you just see some impressions. Common Ground is a universal app, really in the sense that it runs on every device. It runs on mobile, tablet, desktop computers. It's built as a universal application from the get-go. I will show more of these features in the demo. The key features today, just as a summary, every community has a home on Common Ground, so a dedicated home. There are different ways to communicate for communities. There's the ability to blog, to post guides around how to use the infrastructure that this community is building. On the user side, there are personalized news feeds that make it really easy to be part of 20, 30, 50, 100 communities. And you don't have to click through all the communities to get the updates. You get them all aggregated on your personal news feed. Every community can be divided into different areas, and in these different areas, you can have various gating rules, or they can be totally open. And then there are group chats and blogs and different kinds of content in these areas. We have human verification implemented, which gives rise to Sybil resistant identities for communities who want that. You can also just have this for specific spaces in your community. We have direct messages that are end-to-end encrypted, and we have group calls. So something like Zoom, currently without video, in the future with video, which are also end-to-end encrypted. Also, you can connect multiple wallets, and we have a really sort of nice identity management system implemented. Just a quick word on this idea of identity. We believe that communities need self-sovereign, Sybil-resistant identities for their users, which means that the data and the ownership of identities always needs to be with the user. But communities, for some interactions, like maybe governance votes or other things, want Sybil resistance. So they want to know that one user doesn't have multiple accounts. And that's a concept that we follow, that we have actually already implemented in one way that's possible. I think we will talk about this later also in the questions. And ultimately, we believe that a strong identity model gives communities the ability to, make reputation sticky. And when reputation becomes sticky, it becomes a totally different game of how you actually, distribute governance power in your community. Because when you see that a person has been, contributing really valuably over time, maybe they should be deserving governance power, even if they can't afford to buy into the governance power. So this idea of non-financial governance is something that we want to enable for our communities. Just quickly before I jump into the demo, our roadmap for this year or for the next 6 months really is to introduce community governance as a feature that's been missing so far. So we've been really focusing on getting the, chat and other sort of experiences to make them really nice. And now we're implementing the governance aspect so that communities can also do voting directly on the platform. We're also working on custom roles and permissions. So that makes it even nicer to distribute, permissions and various kinds of contributor roles in your community. We want to introduce live video spaces so that you don't need to use something like Zoom to have these kinds of calls. You can have them directly on Common Ground. Right now, we just have audio, so we're adding video. We believe community calendars are a really valuable feature that's not really available today on the internet, so this is coming. And then things like newsletters, things like badges, praise and reward system to reward contributors in your community to accrue this reputation that I've been talking about. And then for some communities, possibly not Maker, but for others, we also want to allow, to sell memberships and sell subscriptions. So we believe there is a growing number of DAOs and communities who actually want to monetize in some meaningful way, and we want to make that possible as well. So that's our roadmap for the next 6 months. And now I'm going to jump into a demo. So let me open my window. So now you can see Common Ground. It runs as a full desktop application here on my Mac, but it runs also on Linux.
See it yet, Flo. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Oh,
we still see
thank you. I'm going to stop sharing and share again. Yeah, I didn't share the screen. I just shared a window. I realize it now. Okay. Now you should be able to see the Common Ground app. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jan. Good you're here. So, here you see the Common Ground app. It's running here on my MacBook, but it runs on Linux, Windows. Also, it's truly a universal app. And we're right on this personalized front page of Common Ground, where I'm presented the news, aggregated news across all the communities that I'm a member of. So I don't need to check every community to see what's new. So you can here see various announcements and blog posts by different communities, and I can just browse and check, interesting. The stuff that is not as highlighted as the others is basically I've already read it. I can, filter by announcements, articles, guides. And these are my community news. When I scroll down, I also can discover communities. So see, who are the most active communities right now on the platform. I can also see what are the newest communities right now on the platform. And so that makes it really easy to explore communities. And then here in the bottom part of the front page, I also get a feed of blog posts that have been published by individuals, just by people who are writing about different things. And I can just hover over any nickname and I see who these people are, get a little profile on them. And so it's really sort of a social experience that I get. And then when I jump into a community, so I pick the Common Ground community as an example, I enter into the home of this community. So this community has a home page. We call it the lobby. And here I can see all the announcements of this community. I can scroll around and see, what this community has been working on in the past. I can see different articles, which are like more extended, publications. And you can already see that there are a bunch of articles that are actually unlocked for me. And what that means is this is a token gated blog post. I only see this information because I have a specific token in one of my connected wallets that makes me part of the CG core team. That's why I can see it. If you would go on Common Ground right now, you would not see this blog post. And then on the left-hand side, I have the community sidebar, which is reminiscent of Discord. We have different areas here that contain different channels, and I can jump into them and I can see what people are talking about in these channels. I can leave emojis if I like what they are doing. Well done. And so it sort of functions like Discord. We also have voice calls. So here I'm jumping right now into voice call. So you can see I'm now part of this call, and Jan could be joining as well now. And then we could have a conversation here, fully end-to-end encrypted. So that's also pretty cool. Here we have an area called Human Hangout. And what's special about this area is that you can only be here if you are a verified human. So everybody posting in here can, by definition, not be a bot and it cannot be someone with multiple accounts on the platform. It's only real and unique people that can post here. And so in here, in the future, we can have, for example, governance votes, where we know that everybody voting is really one unique person, which is pretty cool. And then another really cool feature here is the CG Core Team area, which is something that guests cannot see or enter because this is protected with token gating rules. So in order to enter into this area, you need a specific NFT that lives on the Gnosis XDAI blockchain, which is a chain that we love very much. And we're issuing NFTs to our core team members in order to allow them to access this area. And I've left a little thing here. I've created a test community for Maker. No worries, it's completely hidden. Nobody can see it on this platform. But just for fun, to show you how easy it would be, I just for fun created a Maker community. So when I join this community, boom, I'm part of this community. And I can see some blog posts that I've imported. And you can see I've just created some test channels. Some of them are public, but some are token gated. And I've just token gated them with DAI. So in order to enter into this area, you need to have one DAI on the Ethereum mainnet in order to enter into this area. And so, you could have different core units here having private conversations. You could have governance conversations here being private just to MKR token holders of varying amounts. So you can have a whales area. So it's up to you how you want to use these features. That's pretty cool. Also want to show our notification management, which is pretty cool. So here I have, every time I'm being mentioned in any community, I get a notification here, and then I can just click through them, and I'm just being taken to wherever this conversation is happening. So it's a really powerful feature to save time. We copied this from Microsoft Teams, where we saw this feature and we were like, this is amazing. We want to have this as well. So this is the notifications, really nice feature. And then I also want to show you my profile. So this is me on Common Ground. You can see I'm also a verified human. My nickname is Ada. And you can see my blog posts here, the drafts I'm working on, and the communities that I'm a member of. And when I go into my profile settings under wallets and identity, you can see some interesting things. I have connected 4 different wallets to my identity. I have set them all to hidden, so nobody can see that I have these wallets. Nobody can sort of dox me. But then all the tokens in all these wallets are access credentials for different communities and the gated areas within them. And what's also pretty cool is that I've connected an anonymous proof of personhood to my identity. Currently, we offer Fractal as a service provider to do this with, but we're also going to integrate, proof of humanity, Gitcoin Passport, and other identity providers that are sort of popular in the Web3 space and that are, sort of good citizens in this space we want to offer. And thanks to this Fractal verification, I'm able to prove that I'm a real human. And here are the DMs. So here I'm, DMing with people, which is also fully encrypted, which is pretty cool. That's a presentation of the platform. And I'm going to stop screen sharing now. And I think we're just perfectly at the half hour. So I guess it's time for questions.
You probably want to keep the screen sharing in case that one of the questions is answered by the platform. But I don't know if anyone wants to hop on the mic first. Maybe Peyton, just to see if you're ready, Peyton.
Yeah, I'm done. My computer is less ready than I am, but looks like we got up. This is super cool. So I was kind of interested on access. Hopefully I'm not great. All right. I was kind of interested on like access control, and it seemed like you were kind of getting into it with the wallet stuff and tokens at the end. I'm kind of curious if there's different setups for permissions and if you could walk through maybe some of that a little bit.
Yeah. So at the moment, it's a pretty primitive system, I would say, which is that actually, let me show you. Juan was right. I should have kept the screen sharing. So I'll go into so I'm an admin in the Common Ground community. So I'll go into community settings, and then I go into areas and channels. And here you can see what's in our sidebar. So these are the areas in our sidebar. It contains the channels, voice and text channels. And when I edit an area, I can manage the access control. And at the moment, it's done in a way where I can manage write permissions and read permissions. And so it can be that an area is visible, readable, but it's not writable, right? And so I can say that, okay, every channel in this area is can only be written to by team members of my community, so admins and mods, and by people who have verified as a real human. That's what we call DID. Or it can be teams only. That's how it works right now. And in terms of visibility, so read access, I can token gate an area with multiple token gating rules. At the moment, I can add up to 2 rules, which can be alternative or additive. And then in these token gating rules, I select a blockchain, and then I enter a smart contract address. It can be an ERC20, ERC721, or ERC1155 contract. And then I enter the amount of tokens you need from this specific contract. And that's how you get access. Now, this is our version 1. In, I think, just about 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to launch a much more advanced version of this, which I referred to custom roles and permission management. And in this version 2, you'll have a much more granular way of managing read and write permissions based on roles that you assign to people in your community. And you can have hundreds of different roles if you want to, that are really fine-grained around, specific token ownership or specific badges or reputation that a person has earned and so on. So it becomes much more fine-grained and configurable how you do the access permissioning in your community. The technical term of what we're building is a RBAC, so role-based access control. We've built a proper RBAC system, and it involved a lot of database changes for us to do this, but we've done most of that. And so we're implementing the UI UX component of that at the moment, and then it's going to be live pretty shortly. Hope that answered your question. Awesome. Very good.
Patrick wanted to know if the wallet server side or client side. I don't know if we need Jan for this or if the question makes sense, but
can you repeat the question? What was the question?
So are the wallets server side or client side? I'm guessing it's like if you connect the wallets to your identity, does that stay in some common ground central ID? Is that what
that's basically the question. Yeah. So how like non-friendly is this if someone wants to, have their tokens noticed? Like for Maker, they have MKR tokens, but they don't want necessarily common ground to know that those are their MKR tokens. Is that possible?
No, right now we don't support zero knowledge stuff. Actually, what happens is that you can add a wallet, and this is added to your profile server side. It doesn't have to be visible to anyone, but the server side on-chain engine needs to know about the wallet to check the permissions, whether you own the tokens to fulfill access rules.
And that would mean then that presumably the Common Ground team could potentially find out users' wallet addresses.
That is correct, yes.
Thanks.
So maybe to add to this, we found no way to do real-time access gating control that does not involve a centralized party in the middle, which in this case is us. There are some protocols out there to do it sort of trustless, but they are not real-time. So in their case, you verify once, it's trustless, but once you give the token away, you still have access. So if you actually want to do it real time, which is what we do, we currently don't know a way to do that. It could be possible that with ZK technology maturing in the future, maybe it becomes possible, and we have a strong interest in protecting our users' anonymity. So at the middle way that we found right now is that we literally don't collect any information on our users. So indeed, we know that your profile has that wallet connected to it, but we don't know who that profile is. We don't collect emails, we don't collect names, we collect virtually no personal information about you, such that even if, some evil team member with database access, in that case that would be Jan, would like to dox you, he couldn't really, because he wouldn't know who that person is. That's sort of the best middle way we found at the moment.
Yeah, the Oracle problem is definitely an interesting one.
Yeah, exactly. It's an Oracle problem.
So, yeah, Petru asked, Petru, you might have to help me here, but he's asking how P2P resilient is the app? Can one backup retrieve the community data? So I'm guessing if you guys disappear, what happens with that? And is there a way of staying afloat?
That is a great question. And I want to answer the question like this. At the moment, Common Ground is, in a sense, almost a normal web application. So pretty similar in a sense, technically, to what Discord does. However, with one major difference. We're building Common Ground as a user-owned application, which means that Common Ground will actually be owned by the communities that build on this platform. And I mean this quite literally. So we're creating a cooperative, and the token holders of the Common Ground governance token can become owners of this cooperative. So in a sense, we realized, okay, there is an Oracle/intermediary problem. What is the solution to this? Well, let's make our users themselves the intermediaries, right? So we're stepping out. So what we don't want is a role where we run the service and our users are at our, benevolent, gracious will, right? We actually want the users to run the service with us, right? And the only way to do this is to make them shareholders of the organization. And so this is what we're doing. Common Ground is a cooperative, a platform cooperative, and the communities that build on it, they literally own the whole stack. The IP, the trademarks, the service, the data centers, anything that is owned by Common Ground is actually owned by the users that build on the platform. That's sort of the best solution that came to our mind, and that's the direction in which we're going at the moment.
Nice. Fred is asking, how do you verify humanness? But I think you mentioned Fractal, Gitcoin passport, and the crazy.
At the moment, it's just Fractal, exactly, right? So here I have my verified with Fractal proof. I went through a short process with Fractal, which is anonymous. I don't leave any personal data. But what I do is I do a short video call with an AI. And this AI does basically a biometric realness, uniqueness check with me. Takes like 5 seconds. And then when the AI is convinced I'm a real unique person that hasn't done this process before, it issues a DID certificate to one of my wallets. And then if I have this wallet connected to Common Ground, I'm recognized as a unique person. Now we understand that biometric check is not for everybody. And so this is just one option among many that we want to offer. Proof of humanity is a different one. It's currently not implemented, but it will come later this year.
Nice. Yeah, I think that Gitcoin passport, someone mentioned that it's not that hard to civil attack it. I don't know. I'm not an expert.
Exactly. So. It's not very hard to civil attack. And so it's a bit of a protection. I think biometric check is the hardest. proof of humanity is maybe a bit in the middle, and then you have a Gitcoin passport, and communities should choose the model that they are happy with, right? And I think with ZK technology maturing, maybe there will be totally new ways to do this. And the point of Common Ground is not to come up with these things. What we want to do is we want to integrate the good ones and actually make them, accessible and useful in such an ecosystem.
Nice. Mr. 3F, good meta, if you want to on the mic. I see your hands up.
Yes, thank you. This is super, super cool. Thanks for coming on. So I have a couple of questions, and hopefully you'll remember all of them. But I guess the first one is, how does the platform plan to deal with the annoying bots? And well, not all of them are annoying, but with bots and untrustworthy users that pop up in Discord right now. That's part one. The second one, I think you touched upon it, which was the third-party integrations. So I gather right now you don't really have many, but you plan to scale that out. And then the third part would be with regards to MakerDAO is hopefully going to go through a transition into sub-DAOs, so DAOs of DAOs. Maybe some sub-DAOs will pick to be on Starknet as an example. So I guess what I'm saying is this EVM compatible? On how easy is it to scale it on Arbitrum as opposed to XDAI?
So let me start with the last question because it's the easiest to answer. We support currently 8 different EVMs. I'm not sure if you can see
Florian, exactly. The pop-up is not visible. Sorry.
So let me just quickly change this 1 second. I'm sharing again. I just have to share the whole window like this. Okay. So now you should be able to see it. Can you see this now?
Yes.
Yeah. So you can see here in the token gating, I can already select Ethereum Mainnet, Optimism, Arbitrum, Gnosis, Polygon, Binance, Phantom, Avalanche. These are the EVMs we already support for token gating. And we will add, all the good ones as they come. It's really easy with EVM because it's just one API. We also want to integrate other token ecosystems that are non-EVM at some future point. But right now, we're very, very grateful for EVM because it's just really easy to integrate more of them. Another token ecosystem, let's say Solana, it's just going to be a whole lot of work to do this. So at the moment, we don't have the time and the resources to do it. But in principle, we believe that Common Ground can become a space for many token ecosystems to meet and find common ground, right? It's in the name. In terms of the first question that you asked, how do we want to deal with annoying users? So we believe that in the future, basically all communities will choose some kind of identity model that they will enforce in their community, right? And an identity model means that users need to give some skin in the game in order to be able to interact in this community as a non-financial skin in the game. So it's not about putting money in, but it can also be money. But it's more about, okay, this here is my identity. And if I screw up, you can ban this identity from that community and I will have a hard time, maybe an impossible time to come back, right? And so we sort of show this as a proof of concept in our human hangout at the moment. You can only be here if you've done a biometric AI check that you're a unique person. This is really hard. I've seen it with a friend, actually an investor in Common Ground. He has an identical twin. And his identical twin brother was not able to do the human verification because his brother already did it, so he could not come in. That's obviously too harsh, right? So, but our idea is that dealing with bots works through skin in the game, through identity models, and sort of as a basic layer. And then you had a second question regarding third-party integrations. I don't know exactly what your question was on that, though. Maybe you can help me remember.
More to do with, I mean, I think you touched upon it, right? The Gitcoin. Also, there's a bunch of governance tooling that's coming out from different players in the ecosystem. I'm sure you saw them at ETH Denver. Integrations with those folks. And then kind of the learning curve for users who are not familiar with Web3 technologies. You know, can it be integrated to a Web2 tool and then kind of get those Web2 users to come into something like Common Ground, which, you know, might be a bit harder for communities to attract and retain members of Web2.
So I think you're really hitting the nail on the head. I think what the internet needs right now, the Web3 space, is tooling that is accessible for Web2 users and that makes all of these amazing innovations. Let's just say Snapshot. It's just my mom wouldn't understand how Snapshot works. But we want to integrate Snapshot. And when she understands how Common Ground works, she will be able to do Snapshot votes, but she won't even know that she's doing it. Right. So that's sort of where we see our unique contribution to the space. We don't develop fancy protocols on chain. We leave that to the galaxy brains at Maker and other communities. We want to take these amazing things and, you know, break them down, make them accessible to normies. That's, I think, where the Web3 space has traditionally not put a lot of energy in because, you know, reasons. But this is where we think we can actually uniquely contribute with a team that consists of, you know, really good Web2 developers, designers. You can see we've put a lot of work in good design, and we continue to do this. So, and for example, just as an example, right now we have the first team that is not Common Ground into actually getting access to the Common Ground project and developing an integration into the platform, which relates to our direct messages. So right now, our direct messages are end-to-end encrypted, but they are only on this platform. So right now, all the DMs are happening on Common Ground. And what they are implementing is a wallet-to-wallet interoperability standard. This project is called DM3, and they are officially backed by the ENS DAO. They have grants. They also are now getting an Optimism grant. So it's a really cool project. And we are the first project that implements their wallet-to-wallet messaging standard. And what this will mean is that you can send DMs to people on other platforms from Common Ground and receive DMs on Common Ground from people on other platforms, right? And so this is an interoperability standard, which Web3 is all about. And currently, this DM3 team is building this extension inside our code base. So it's a true collaboration, which is pretty cool.
Super nice. Thank you, Florian. When you mentioned governance, I forgot in your presentation the exact word, but did you mean snapshot or did you mean like something more? I mean, governance is more than just the voting part, right? But is it more like you guys are planning on coming up with a huge feature to discuss proposals all the way to the voting, or is it more like, okay, no, it's the integration with different platforms such as Snapshot?
So we think it's actually much more. It's much more than just a Snapshot integration. And actually, our first iteration, our first step at governance is not even on chain. It's really just finding good UX around governance for communities, because as you say, that's the last mile, right? To register your vote on chain. The hard part is actually building a user experience that makes governance interesting, engageable, that further promotes discussions, and then allows users to make informed decisions. That can even involve something like AI that allows you to get summaries or to write intelligent proposals. So there are many aspects to governance that are currently not well solved. And this is what we're focusing on. And the Snapshot integration will not be our first entry into the governance. It starts smaller, but I think more substantial in terms of what's actually needed.
Nice. I don't see a lot of questions in the chat, but I had a couple. One is related to Petru's question, but basically, I think there were like blog posts or reports. Are those also living in the servers from Common Ground, or are you guys integrating from like Mirror or other, I don't know, Substack, whatever blogging platform?
So at the moment, it's proprietary, meaning that it's just inside the platform, which is really just for a lack of time to do more. We have a lot to do, but we see the value of being able to import from other sources, but also to be able to publish on other sources. So one thing we've been asked many times is, can I store my blog posts on IPFS, for example? Which we believe makes a lot of sense if that's what you want, right? So there would be then an IPFS integration. You store your blog posts there, and then they sort of are not trapped in our database. So just fundamentally to make this clear, since we're building the Common Ground organization to be user-owned, we have zero incentive to build all these mean patterns of Web 2 into our app, like zero. It's really going to be user-owned. It's like open source and what Maker does as well. We're building for the world. We're building for our users. So we don't have any of these sort of bad patterns in our DNA.
Nice. And the other, I think it's my last question, but we kind of discussed already ZK proofs and stuff like that. I think that's potentially a game changer for anything governance. I don't know, like an example would be submitting an anonymous proposal showing that you do have either the credibility or the reputation or the tokens to back it. I think that's something that nowadays it's not happening, especially when you need to pass I don't know, either constructive feedback or saying like, hey, this proposal sucks. That's something that's much harder to do nowadays, maybe because then you need to deal with the human part of, hey, this guy wants me out, so now we need to collaborate, and then you have like all these political blockades and stuff. So yes, as Peyton was saying, we end up with sock puppet accounts, which is a brand new account that just knows a lot of what's happening in Maker, even if they have read only 6 minutes of the forum. But yeah, so I'm personally very much looking forward to anything that has to do with CK proofs. So hopefully that will make something. And the other thing that we've been seeing, I think we actually saw it in some software during Denver, but we saw some manage your community through AI kind of thing. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about that. I still don't see how in this kind of thing it could help potentially for some summaries or something like that, but I don't know if that's a game changer yet. But maybe there are other areas where AI can have a huge impact, and you guys have seen it.
You've mentioned it. I think it's both in terms of summarizing a lot of information to make it digestible to users to save time. I think that's helpful, but then also maybe in drafting. Some people have a hard time with a white piece of paper, so maybe an AI can sort of pre-draft. You give it some bullet points, and it makes a sort of a rough draft of a longer blog post or a proposal. But beyond that, I don't really see the game changer type of application, as you said it. I don't believe in a future where AIs are autonomously managing the whole DAO. I mean, that sounds rather scary to me. I think this is exactly where the human element should be, right? Sort of the value-based decisions of, how should this DAO evolve? What should it do? I don't think this is something we should leave to AI. So I would agree with you. I don't really see a game changer there when it comes to governance. And I also see a lot of problems with AI because we've had some users posting AI-generated blog posts, and I can say that I immediately recognize AI-generated blog posts. They have a certain rhythm to them, a certain use of words, and I fall asleep after 2 minutes. So I think authentic human content is still much, much more interesting. And since there are detection mechanisms for AI, it could also be that we sort of, maybe don't showcase AI-generated stuff to as many users as real human stuff, because there's no actual work behind an AI generated blog post. So we really want to take a stance on AI where we don't just mindlessly promote AI stuff, but actually only where it makes sense, I would say.
Yeah, nice. I can point you to human generated content that's actually worse than the AI one if you'd like. We don't have a shortage of
Link me up to 4chan. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And something else that Peyton was mentioning on the chat, I think it would be very cool if maybe channels had like these rules where they like auto archive or they are kind of like closed if no one has any type of activity after some time, or I don't know if some set of rules is I don't know, Peyton, if you had like a deeper thought. Maybe I'm killing your idea, but
yeah, just like something where it doesn't have to be as advanced as like AI, but some sort of programmatic way to start hiding channels that aren't used. Maybe you can still search for them if you want to go necromancer them or whatever. But I know that's a huge thing as a moderator, right? Where it's like, I don't want to be the one who's like, hey, this really isn't happening. You guys aren't doing much. Like, let's clean up the Discord. That's like an awkward spot to put a human in. But as a result, if you go to the Maker Discord, it's awful. Like, I spend so many minutes of my day just like, where the fuck is the channel? Like, it's kind of crazy, that much operational baggage gets built up because of it.
Yeah, that's actually a cool idea to use AI as a support for moderators. That makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. Yeah. Or even, a welcome bot that is more intelligent, that can, or an FAQ bot, right? So AIs will be able to understand specific information about your community in the future. And then new users could be onboarded by a bot that is conversational and just makes it more fun for new users to understand what this community is about. So you could have, some welcome area, where a bot automatically starts a conversation with you and makes clear that it's a bot, but also isn't like as stupid as a Discord bot, but really is has a nice conversation with you and can individually guide you into the directions where you want to go, how you want to contribute to a community.
Nice. Yeah, super excited to see where you guys take this project. Again, I've been using, or I've been starting to hate Discord more and more. Like, even to add a friend, it's like you find like some box, you type in their thing, and it's like, we haven't found anything. You find another box, you type it there, still nothing. You need to click like 3 or 4 times to find like the add friend box. So yeah, maybe it's not the most constructive feeling to have this hated or hatred and start building from it. But at least that's where I'm coming from. So very, very excited to see where you guys take this.
Thank you.
Where can people find you? Ask you what's the best way of start a community? What's the process there?
So I just posted our homepage in the chat. It's commonground.cg. So our initials are also our top level domain, commonground.cg. And that's where you find a link to the application I just demoed. We went public with this application 2 months ago. So it's open to everybody. You can just do exactly what I just did. Browse around, create as many communities as you want. In the beginning, they are private, which means that they are not featured on our front page. But as soon as you want a community to really become serious and so on, you can come to the Common Ground community, where you also find me, you find Jan, you can ask us questions, introduce yourself, and then we can verify your community, which means that we issue you an NFT, which is your personal community NFT. And this NFT verifies your community. It then appears on the front page. Your blog posts appear on the front page. Others can discover you. And the cool thing about a community NFT is also means it makes your community self-sovereign. So the NFT actually becomes the super admin of your community. and you can put that NFT in a multisig, and then the multisig basically, which could be all your users, let's say all the MKR holders, are then the super admin of the MKR of the maker space, right? And so if you have a misbehaving moderator, a governance vote of all the token holders can throw out that moderator, right? So it's not one guy who created the community initially who can, who owns the space forever. It's actually the community that owns the space. So that's a pretty cool feature that we've built really early. And that's available to verified communities.
Nice. And any quick way of throwing you a question or a comment? Is it Twitter? Is it Telegram? What's the...
Yeah. So find us. So this is Common Ground _CG is our Twitter, and my personal Twitter is @hackerhood. So follow us, promote us, tell your friends about us, tell your family about us. And we'd be happy to answer all your questions. Really exciting for us to be able to present to you here. So, yeah.
Nice. Thank you very much. So, Jan, Florian, thank you guys for coming. This has been great. It's great learning about this initiative and this project.
Thank you very much as well.
Thank you so much for having us.
All
right, guys.
All right.